All right, welcome everyone. Welcome and thank you for being here. We're grateful to you for joining us tonight and for being part of our community. My name is Elric Walker. I am a board member of the Jung Association of Western Massachusetts. Before we begin, I would like to tell you a little bit about the Jung Association of Western Massachusetts. We are a mostly volunteer organization founded in 1996. Concerned with promoting and exploring in community with others the ideas of the great depth psychologist Carl Gustav Jung. I'd like to take a quick moment to introduce you to our board members and to the members of our advisory board and to thank them for all their good work on behalf of the association. Christine Olson is our president and fearless leader. Penelope Tarasuk and Erica Lorentz are current board members and advisors, and two of the longest-serving members on the board. Erica served previously as our president. Both are authors and practicing Jungian analysts. Erica is also our speaker tonight, but more about her in a few moments. Judy Hall is our bookkeeper. Peter O'Brien is our project development coordinator. We welcome Janine Cooper as our newest board member. Janine is working with Judy Hall to take over as our bookkeeper and treasurer. I serve as public relations liaison and promotional coordinator for the association. We're also very grateful to the members of our advisory board, poet and depth psychotherapist Dr. Ed Tick, who previously served on our board of directors, psychologist and therapist Dr. Carol Beauvais, who also previously served on our board of directors, retired family therapist and historian Peter Williams, who also previously served on our board of directors, and Joe Coolin, who was the former publisher of Parabola magazine and has recently become a children's book author. We thank them all for their many ongoing contributions and for their much sought after sage wisdom. On behalf of our president and the members of the current board, I want to offer many thanks to those of you who have stepped forward to consider participation on our board. We are still seeking local persons to join our team. If you have interest and you are local, please contact our president, Christine Olson. I think you'll find her email in the chat room tonight. If you can't find it there, you may find it on our website. Many kind thanks to Andrew Grant tonight for providing Zoom and technical assistance. Thank you, Andrew. I'd like to mention that we have resurrected our film and discussion events. These events will be local and in person. The general structure of these events will be the watching of 30 to 40 minutes of a film clip on a Jungian subject, after which we will open up to a general discussion. And these discussions are often very wide-ranging and interesting. We are presently finishing up the last section of a documentary on Marion Woodman, Dancing in the Flames. Our next event will be on Sunday, March 23rd at 4 p.m. And this takes place at the Smith Campus Center, which is right on Route 9 in Northampton, room 102. Check our website for more information on this or any other of our events. You'll also find in the archive section of the website videos of past lectures and events. The website is westmassjung.org. What we have upcoming, I want to let you know first and foremost that our lecture in May, the last in our series, has been canceled. So next month's presentation, the April presentation, will be the last in our series for this season. So in April, our speaker will be, this will be on Friday, April 4th, 7 o'clock. Our speaker will be Ryan Mayer, who will present Madness, Wildness, and Pan's Return. Spring in the month of April is an excellent time to explore the Greek nature god Pan, so please join us for that. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Judy Hall, who will introduce tonight's speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Elric. It is my pleasure to introduce to you tonight my friend, Erica Lorentz. Erica is a Jungian analyst, as Elric said. She has over 40 years of clinical experience. She has practiced individual, couples, and group work, lecturing, teaching, educating, and supervising in the United States and overseas. She has been a training analyst at the C.G. Jung Institute of New England and served on the training board. She has been an adjunct faculty member at Antioch, New England Graduate School of Professional Psychology, and a training analyst with the Interregional Society of Jungian Analysts. Erica is adding to that wonderful list a new book coming out sometime next year, titled Body as Shadow, Jung's Embodied Individuation Process. And that is the theme of her talk tonight. For Jung, there is no separation between body, mind, soul, and spirit. Erica's area of expertise is working with the embodied mythopoetic process. In analysis. Her work is, her approach toward Jungian depth work is deeply feminine. She explores what dreams, emotions, the imagination, and our physical symptoms have to express and teach us. She trusts these aspects of ourselves completely. Her special focus on the body is cutting edge in the field. Tonight, we will learn why this approach has been relegated to the outer edges, the shadow realms, and why it must be returned to the center. She will show us how to redeem the body and the feminine with what she calls Jung's favorite method of working, embodied active imagination. And finally, the very best way to introduce to you Erica Lorentz is to take one moment and take a deep breath and feel yourselves in your body. Erica.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, tonight. Welcome. Thank you, all, the board and this tiny organization that keeps something I think that's very precious alive in the Valley and to other people. And I really hope people come. The next one is the 23rd Sunday to the film and discussion group. We have such deep, wonderful talks. So to start, I'm going to light a candle. If I can. There we go. Oh dear, I blew it out. And I'm going to put it back here with the Hopi storyteller, the Hopi storyteller. Our stories are so important, our embodied stories especially. And the last amaryllis of the season. So we're going to go on a journey, I hope, today, and I use film to try to help us get inside of what I'm talking about, because that's really the most important thing is we can talk about the body, but how do we get into it? So let's just start with a little body meditation like Judy started us with. So thank you, Judy. So just close your eyes and just take a breath. And notice your busy mind. It's probably thinking of everything but being here. We're going to see if we can let that left brain, busy mind relax tonight. Notice your eyes. Notice if they're hard focused. Are you looking? Or if you can soft focus. It's okay. Whatever is happening is important, has a reason. But just notice. Feel your jaw. We all have tension in our jaw. Feel the air go up and down your throat. And if you can't feel that, that's just something to explore. Shoulders, arms, hands, and fingers. Just feel or notice if you don't. Come to your breathing. Breathe into your back against the chair or where, just in the back and the sides and the front. Just notice what your breath is like right now. Your diaphragm. We're just becoming present to who we are and what we're bringing with us. Notice your stomach, organs, and lower back. Your pelvis, your sit bones, the chair. Are you letting the chair hold you up? Just take a breath. Feel your thighs and your knees.
Can't park here, can I? Okay.
Your calves, your feet, and your toes. And just notice if you're somewhere else, that's okay, or you're here. Feel the air, your clothes on your skin. The sounds in the room. And before we open our eyes, I want us to see if we can hold. I want to dedicate this evening to the chaos that is happening in the world and the people who are suffering. So before you open your eyes, see if you can take a breath and send out a message to those who are suffering in this world tonight. Whatever that is for you. And slowly open your eyes. And I want to invite you this evening to see if you can keep your gaze soft, because you will take more in, you will experience more if you soften your gaze. I'll remind you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story and how I came to this material. I've been working, I started doing authentic movement, which I'll explain later, when I was 23. And I was totally not incarnated before that. That's when I finally began to incarnate into this body. And then in 1987, I was in Houston. I was about to start training, and I developed these horrific headaches. Nothing helped. Nothing medical was wrong. And finally, it began to dawn on me that my body was trying to do something. It was trying to tell me something. So I started to work with an authentic movement again, going out to California 4 or 5 times a year, working with a group. And when Janet was my witness, I mean, I was having these experiences for the 5 years, kind of altered state experiences. When she was my witness, I could really feel the sensation and where my body needed to go and what position and what direction and how fast and how slow. And slowly over 5 years, I began to learn how to allow energy to come up through my body. And in the 5th year, I was moving to help the energy come up. And suddenly it shot through my solar plexus and my whole body was vibrating. I was sobbing and my hands were so full of energy that I had to go around and touch people in the group to try to do something with this energy. And my headaches disappeared. So that's a long story of how I got rid of my headaches in 1995. But it was trying to help. It was trying to tell me that I needed to pay attention and I needed to follow this. So, okay. So I'm going to start my screen share. We're going to go on a journey together. Now, let's see. Okay. I'm going to do this. Now, is that going to disappear? How do I make the bottom disappear?
Slideshow.
Thank you. Okay. Can everybody see? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go to the first slide. This is Peter Berkhauser, a Swiss. He was a very famous designer, a graphic designer. And he started working with Marie-Louise von Franz because he started having dreams. And he eventually gave up being a graphic designer and he spent his life working with his dreams and using his incredibly beautiful skill to paint his dreams and do painting active imagination with his unconscious. And he worked with her for the rest of his life. This is the butterfly birth, the soul. Jung writes, the body is merely the visibility of the soul, the visibility of the soul, the psyche. The soul is the psychological experience of the body. So they are really one and the same thing. The body, the soul, and the psyche are really one and the same thing. Okay, we're going to go to a person that I consider one of the most important neuroscientists of our time, Ian McGilchrist. Some of you might know him. If you don't, I really encourage you to seek him out. He's all over the internet. He's all over YouTube. He does talks with philosophers and scientists and spiritual people. So he's a real scholar. He's a syncretist. For me, he's equal to the kind of knowledge and breadth that Jung had. So when he was working with brain damage, he would find out what happened to the personality, the ability to attend, the ability to take in data, the ability to process the data, the ability to process time. He would see what happened to the person. And from this, he began to realize that there really is a difference in approach to life from the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. And the right hemisphere, keep this in mind, should be the foundational master. Okay. Oops. Okay. Here we have to do this now. Okay. So let me get rid of my picture up here. Sorry. At birth, we have the right hemisphere comes on. It's the brainstem, the instinct, the limbic system, the emotion, empathy, and intersubjectivity. Then it processes emotion, particularly sadness. The left hemisphere has more to do with anger. It's the embodied experience, the whole body. It's about nonverbal communication. 7% of communication is verbal. 93% is nonverbal. Voice, sound, rhythm, energy, gesture, posture, all kinds of things. And if most of us are sensitive and tune into some of this. It's about context, relationship, gestalt, complexity. It's holistic. It holds possibility without interpretation, and this is so important when we're working with the unconscious. This is not about guided imagery. This is about allowing the unconscious to come and working with it and allowing us to find out what the unconscious is speaking to us. It's about intuition, paradox, very Jungian, mediates over a long period of time. And this is very important because when we get caught in a complex or a trauma or a childhood issue, we know that I've been here before. I kind of know how to get out of this. Eventually I'll feel better. That's really helpful. It's about wisdom. It prefers novelty, uncertainty, the symbolic. It's about meaning. It loves individual uniqueness, and Jung loved individual uniqueness. No matter how much he studied the archetypal phenomena and how that all intersects with all cultures, he loved the individual. Okay, the left hemisphere, which should be the emissary or the laptop, as McGilchrist says, it comes about 18 months when we're separating. It's about the frontal cortex, control, separation, my needs, me, detachment. Sets emotions aside, denial, splits the body and the mind. Now, this is important when we have a trauma or when something really intense is happening and we need to go attend to somebody we love. We have to be able to set these things aside and come back. It's about anger, aggression, the predator. And this, of course, is very important if you're a hunter. About explicit, describable language. This is a computer. This is an audience. This is a person. This is a whatever, a tree. It's not about meaning. It's about direct, focused attention. It analyzes, organizes, categorizes. It's hierarchical. It abstracts, conceptualizes, and manipulates to bring control and resolution. McGilchrist recently has said the left brain, when it wants something or it needs something, it grabs. It knows how to grab and bring. It's about fixed ideas, known, discernible, literal, local attention. Now this, if you look at these two, you can see the master has a lot more characteristics that Jung knew and tried to bring into Western mental health. Okay, the last thing is very important. The left brain can't comprehend out of its known explicit world view. It can't think outside of the box. So here we have Western scientific rationalism. Now scientists are beginning to be able to think out of the box. I think I think in undergraduate and graduate school now, there are people who are really interested in interdisciplinary subjects. So that's very important. But when a particular scientific view, scientism, gets some data, that's what they look at. They can't think of anything else. Okay. McGilchrist says the right hemisphere is responsible for our sense of the body as something we live, something that is part of our identity. For the left hemisphere, the body is something from which we are relatively detached, a thing in the world, devitalized, a corpse. This is one of Birkhauser's paintings, A Cloven Man, The World's Wound. And for me, this really exemplifies this split between the right and the left hemisphere. And if you look at his eyes, he's not integrated. He's really, and this was in 1949. He died in 1976, I think, or 75. So to me, this is a beautiful image of what we're talking about. Okay, my first chapter is about the embodied soul. The embodied soul requires 5 ingredients: soul, body, the senses; emotion, energy; imagination, somatic, unconscious, and subtle body. So we'll be going through these. Now, this is an ecology or a permaculture. We need all these 5 ingredients to be whole, to be human beings, to be loving, to be connected. And we all have them in different perhaps percentages, but that we need all of them. And this is how we can do the embodied mythopoetic process. Okay. Donald Kelchett, a Jungian analyst, writes, "The soul is a vital animating core of our embodied selves, a certain essential something that links us through love to the divine, to each other, and to the exquisite beauties of the natural and cultured world. We know the soul when we experience it. We can't make it into a data point and experiment on it." Jung said that he had judged my soul and I turned her into a scientific object. I needed to call upon her as a living, self-existing being. He whose desire turns away from outer things reaches the place of the soul. And this, when Jung decided to go into the unconscious in 1913, the soul was his guide. Okay. So now I use film to try to bring us in to our body, into a sense. Film is so amazing at helping us to feel things. So this is the Cirque du Soleil, and this is one of their older ones, Quidam, which means every man, every person. This is the story of a little girl's imagination. And the song that's in French, it's talking about let me fall, let me go, let me glide, let me go where I don't know. So what I want you to do is I want you to just close your eyes again for a minute and just breathe. Just notice your breath again. And feel the chair. And now open your eyes and just see if you can let your gaze be soft. Let this come in and see if you can stay out of the left brain, which is going to be going, what does this mean? What's the interpretation? How do I figure this out? See if you can let it happen. Okay.
Grazie mi va
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing. Hold on. Okay, let's come back. Gallery view. Okay. So let's just share. I want us to share not what we thought happened, not what we think that symbolized, not what we analyzed about it, but what it made us feel. I cry every time I see this. Some of you have seen this a couple of times. So let's just share. What happened in our body? What did it feel like to watch this? What did it bring up? So you can raise your hand in the chat, or where is it, Andrew?
The react button, the Zoom hand at the bottom.
So raise your hand and just share. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I don't think anything I've seen like this has never topped this. Just profound to me. Judy.
Longing.
Yeah, just one word, huh? Longing. Yeah. Thank you. Adele, can you turn your picture on? Your camera on so we can, if you can.
Sorry, we're having an issue starting our video for some reason. But and also we're eating dinner. So, but I laughed out loud when her foot ended up right next to her head all of a sudden. It was really funny, and that happened in my body.
Okay, thank you. What other reactions? Maggie. Maggie, where did Maggie go?
I'm here.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Maggie.
Hi. I had this moment. I mean, the whole thing is so moving, but when she came all the way down and you could see that her face was painted,
Huh?
there was something about creature and suddenly like I felt like I understood all of it more
Mm,
in a heart way. Like this creature,
mm,
was having this experience, but it was just because of that little thing on her cheek that helped me feel that.
Okay, thank you, Maggie. Amy.
I felt some awkwardness in some of the contortions that she had in her body that felt so unnatural and were just, yeah, kind of triggered my own feelings of awkwardness at times when things don't seem to fit right.
Yeah, great. Wonderful. Thank you. Tareen, is that how you pronounce your name?
Taryn.
Thank you.
I tried to start my video, but it doesn't look like I'm allowed to. So,
That's
um,
fun.
yeah, when you said that you cried, I also cried during that, and it felt like heartbreak, and and it was all in my heart space. And someone said the word longing. That felt very true as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Randy. Welcome, Randy.
Oh, hi.
Long way away.
Indeed. Well, I was just struck by how much my body was mirroring hers, so that, like that move when she put her foot around her neck is, oh, like, oh, because I could feel my own foot going behind my neck, but I can't do that,
Mm.
And then,
Isn't the imagination powerful?
right. Yeah. So I'm feeling it totally in my body and getting nervous, about her falling. And then, so I'm moving back and forth from her experience to my observation of her experience. And then once I'm observing her experience, then I'm more likely to be thinking about, well, what does this mean?
Right, right. Yep.
Kind of one with her. I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was just into the free flow of my body, which was quite wonderful. It is a beautiful piece.
Yeah, I've never quite found anything like this, thank you. Yeah. Zachary.
Yeah, I felt very calm in my body, and I felt, as if I was seeing like a beautiful struggle, and also a lot of awe and amazement at this particular human. I mean, it's just a really beautiful testament to what she's accomplished and what we can do. So,
Yeah, thank you. Peter.
I felt like I was in a reverie with her, that almost like we were sharing a dream. Beyond rational thinking, just,
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you. Penny? Unmute, Penny.
I've seen this a number of times, and every time is different. And this is the first time where I felt with her into being a fetus on an umbilical cord and the freedom of being inter-utero.
Okay.
That was new.
Great. Yeah. So we'll have one more. Elric?
I want to pass it over to Sarah McArdle, who's been trying to raise her hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your actual hand go up. Sarah, go ahead.
Sorry, I couldn't find my hand in the chat form. So this was all I knew how to do. I felt freeing. I felt the openness of her movement. As somebody said earlier, I felt it in my body. I wanted to get up and stretch and move and be released. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah, it is.
It's just beautiful. And I just wanted to express it myself somehow.
Great. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go on, Elric, so you can chime in some other time, okay? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing. Okay, so how does that go away? Okay, so it's doing things I didn't ask it to do. So how did the body, the embodied soul, the emotion, the instinct, the imagination, subtle body, how did it get put into the shadow of our culture, way long time ago? So before this culture, we had a matristic, a matrilineal culture. And the way Maria Gimbutas, the archaeologist at UCLA who grew up in Lithuania, so she knew the language of the goddess. And when they unearthed the goddess figurines that I'm sure a number of you have seen, and the male archaeologist said, oh, that's just a fertility symbol. She said, no, this is a symbol of the great goddess. So that culture got to its zenith in 5000 BC. That's 7,000 years ago. And it was nature goddess worshiping. There were male gods too. It was agriculture, sedentary, egalitarian, and peaceful. There were no weapons found in the graves. It was organizing social principle, clan kinship relationships, and communal. We need to go back to some of this. Of course, the indigenous cultures know this. So king or the chief power was conferred by the elder women who tested the whoever it was, and to see if they had their warrior and their ability to be with people, but also if they knew how to be with the goddess, if they knew how to work with the goddess, and then they could be conferred their chieftainship. Okay, so what happened in 5000 BC? Horse riding tribes from Russian steppes and Arabian desert, and probably the horse was tamed and broken and domesticated in Mongolia and the Arabian desert. And so with the horse, these tribes could travel, they could conquer, they could go. And they, for some reason, I wish I could find out the history of how this happened, because I'm sure they had a matrilineal matristic. Matristic means men and women are equal. It's not just matrilineal, it's matristic. They had a sky god dominated by powerful males and a male priesthood, stratified and hierarchical. And they wanted territory, and they brought weapons of war. They dominated and destroyed, and they came into Old Europe first. Old Europe, which is the Lithuania, Latvia, that whole area. And then there was a diaspora to the west, and the kingship was no longer conferred by the women elders. In fact, the women elders had no power. And land and wealth was the important thing. And so the king and the nobles wanted to pass down the inheritance to the males. And that thus began the possession of the sexual relationship and the mother. Anne Baring writes, the cyclical lunar imagery of the goddess culture was either gradually replaced by predominantly male deities and solar mythology, or fused with them in the often uneasy union that is later transmitted to Greek and Celtic culture. This is a revelation of a Seneca grandmother, Twyla Nitsch. There have been a series of worlds, and in the fourth world, the greatest division took place when humans created a god and placed him as a male deity somewhere out in the clouds. I love that image, somewhere out in the clouds. This created the greatest separation between humankind and the great mystery. No longer is there a continuous, holistic, cosmic unity. No longer is nature sentient. Now, for the alchemists, nature was sentient. The relationship between humans, the goddess, and the world soul was being severed. Her sacred temples were shattered or taken over. The embodied soul, the feminine became suspect. It was harder for us to tune into the cosmic language and energy. Then I'm going to skip through about 3 points in history. We're going to zoom through history. Sorry, but these are sort of paradigm shifts in consciousness in the culture. So we come to Greece and Plato and Socrates, who were very much adepts and very honoring of the Western mysteries, the Eleusinian mysteries, deep practitioners of this. So they had their foot in both worlds. They had their foot in this right hemisphere, deep religious Greek culture, and then he was the father of logic and metaphysics. So, according to Anne Baring, he divided the soul into the rational and the irrational. The rational is hierarchically primary. Instincts and emotions are associated with the irrational. They're lower than the mind. They are inferior and unreliable. There's a separation now between the body and the mind. Nature and the body is excluded from the sacred order. Now, Plato gave us incredible wisdom and beautiful philosophy, and he was also the father of modern thinking. So we go to Rome. Now, what's interesting is that, well, this is the Catholic Church, but what's interesting in Rome, which was around the turn of the millennia, is that they were very left hemisphere. They were incredible in management, organization, hierarchy, conquest, and they had one of the biggest empires of that time. Interesting enough, the Greek god of war, Ares, was kept in a temple outside of the village, outside of the town. So when people went off to war, they went to the temple, they went through ritual to prepare them to become warriors. When they came back, They went back to the temple. They were not allowed to go into the town to go through rituals to bring them back from that war, to get the toxins out of their body, to bring them back to ordinary life so that they could come back into the community. So what's interesting is at this point, nature and women were considered to not have souls. And here we go along, and the Deuteronomists who kept the Temple of Solomon, the Jewish sect that kept the Temple of Solomon, where Yahweh and Asherah lived, they were equal. They were in the sacred marriage. And when the Temple of Solomon burned the last time, the Deuteronomists took away her sacred groves, took out her images and her icons, and she was erased from the Godhead. She was demoted to be Eve. Now, Eve also has her own goddess history, but she was demoted to be Eve, and then we come to the Catholic Church, the Hebrew and the Catholic, and of course Eve becomes the demon who creates original sin, who gives us and this is Lilith talking to Eve and the apple and the serpent. So here I love this image because it's so complex with the different aspects of the feminine. So the patriarchs of the Christian church and the redactors the redactors were the priests who copied the scriptures. And when they came to something that was no longer dogma in the church, they would change it, like follow your dreams, listen to your dreams tell us something. No, that was no longer allowed. And then, of course, came the Protestant Reformation, and the symbolic was also banished. So here we come to Descartes, 1650. We're jumping here. And of course, there have been many waves of science and different paradigms and different ways of seeing and working with the world and becoming more and more connected in many good ways with the left hemisphere. We need them both. But Descartes was a real pivot. He decided that the universe was mechanical. And all we had to do was figure out what it was, what the pieces were, and how to fix it. So thus began the real birth of Western scientific rationalism. Jung writes, individuation can only take place if you come back to the body, to your earth. Only then does it become true. Individuation can take place when it is realized, when somebody is there that notices it. Otherwise, it is the eternal melody of the wind in the desert. So Jung, when he came in and he was part of the early psychoanalytic movement, he brought this right hemisphere intuition, meaning, symbolic, the body, the soul. He brought that with him from childhood, and he never let go of that. So his whole concept of individuation has to have to do with the body, and this is part of what my book is about. And his journey, when he decided to go into it, he went into the unconscious. He used his soul guided him. He used his imaginal process. This is where he developed his method, and he spoke to different aspects of the psyche and the unconscious. Okay. So let's come to our sensual authority. This is the body. This is a term that was coined by Moshe Feldenkrais, who developed the Feldenkrais system. He had a knee that was injured, and no doctor could figure out what to do with it. So he went inside very deeply, and he listened to how his body needed to move, this knee and needed to move the energy through his body. And he coined the term sensual authority. Come to our senses, our sensuality. Now, this doesn't mean sexuality. We want sensuality when we're having sex, otherwise it's mechanical. But this is our deepest sense of ourself. Our gut brain, there are more neuroreceptors in our gut than any other part of our body. This is our instinct, what feels right, our gut instinct, our heart brain. This is the next amount of neuroreceptors in the body. The real love and compassion, feeling that scene with our heart, that beautiful dancer with our heart, experiencing energy and emotion, trusting our intuition, finding our own rhythm. And then with all of this, if we're tuning into all of this, then we know our needs and we know our boundaries. Okay, so our sensual authority is very important. So let's have another little journey into a film. And this is a sweet, sweet film. It's called Shall We Dance? It's one of the Hollywood sweet ones. And this is a story of a man, Richard Gere, who's in a midlife crisis. So he decides he's going to go study ballroom dancing. I think that's a great idea for midlife crisis myself. And Jennifer Lopez, who has returned to her home studio because her dance partner jilted her, she's teaching. And so he's learning ballroom dance. They're all learning ballroom dance. And then the next day, there's going to be a competition. So let's just close your eyes for a minute. Take a breath. I've been talking a lot. We've been seeing things. So just come back a little bit. And relax your eyes. Feel the chair. And slowly open your eyes and see if you can have a soft gaze as we watch this film.
Then I started dancing and I found I really liked it. It made me happy.
Yes, it shows. I mean, I feel excited about something for the first time in such a long time. Aren't you?
Excited?
About tomorrow, the competition.
No, I'm petrified. I'm gonna forget everything. I won't be able to put one foot in front of the other. I'll make a mess of the whole thing.
No.
I know, I'm just...
Give me 1 hour. Leave it. Leave the light. Don't say anything, and don't think. And don't move unless you feel it.
Hay milonga de amor, hay temblor de gotán.
Be this alive. Be this alive tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, let's come back. So let's share a little bit about that. That's just a beautiful piece. What did that make you feel? Maggie.
It's Bonnie this time.
It's actually Bonnie this time.
Bonnie.
Hi. Oh, I just was smiling. I was just so ecstatic watching that. I just had a smile the whole entire time. It brought so much joy to me.
Okay, thank you. Tara.
I in a trance of emotion and feeling.
Yeah, thank you. That's a powerful piece. I just started doing tango about a year ago, and boy, I wish I could do that. It's amazing. Maggie?
This time me. What I was saying during that was like, this is the thing we all just want all the time. Like it was like, oh, I just want that. That's
What
so
is-
like it. That's it. That's all there is.
What is that? Can you say what that is?
That much stepping into passion and presence. Like not just taking off the mask, taking off the politeness and just being like, ugh.
Okay, yes, thank you. Stephanie.
I get like the feels.
Mm.
Get the feels when you watch it. And then like I think it's also like it's like JLo's giving him permission to be himself. Like I think that's like for me a big thing because I have that like problem with fear of judgment. So like it's like that dance while no one's watching vibes. Yeah, like that.
Be this alive. Be this alive tomorrow. Amy. Up.
It made me cry.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Thank you. Anyone else? Randy?
Yeah, I'm wondering since you're studying this right now, I've always been fascinated by the aggression in this style of dance. And, they're doing this thing and then they're doing this quick movement, and then this quick movement back like that, almost like martial arts. And, and yet they're doing it in perfect synchrony. And so I'm wondering if you have any insights into that, the nature of that in relation to this style of dance.
Well, I think what you said, the synchrony is absolutely right. It's not one person always, it's the tuning in to presence with each other that's so fascinating, that's hard to do. The leader and the follower, tuning in and just being and following where the music, there are steps, but it's improv. It's always, where do we go next? It's just phenomenal. Thank you.
So it's like a symbolic form of two things coming together and being one.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, they certainly came together and they certainly were one, weren't they? Yeah, that's when it really flows, when we're one. Yeah, thank you. Phoebe.
Hi. I was so curious and to know when she said be this tomorrow.
Be this alive.
It's alive tomorrow, and he laughed, and I wondered what the laugh was. Was it, I can't be this without you? I can't.
What was it for you, Phoebe? What was that for you?
It felt like disbelief on his part that he could access that, and flattery too that she saw it in him. And
well, stay in your left hemisphere here. that's
he felt, he felt seen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a moment, isn't it? Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Laura. Oh.
It felt very ritualistic to me. Like some sacred ritual was being brought forth through instruction.
Yeah, well, what did that make you feel? What did the ritual do for you?
Oh, well, it brought me into the animal realm.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yeah, good. Yeah. Peter.
So it really opened things up for me in terms of sensuality and reflecting on how it's ironic that needing somebody else to help open up your sensuality aids in your individuation. And so maybe this Richard Gere, he does a great job the next day, in part because he was able to.
Yeah, we don't know.
It's sort of merging with somebody, and then you become more of yourself. Somehow.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Adele, and then we'll go on. Adele.
Hello. Hi. Sorry, our computer's working now, I guess. Someone had mentioned the moment when he laughed at the end after she said, "Be this alive tomorrow." And that moment also really stood out to me. And it just felt so I just feel like I know that moment where it's like something really intense has just gone on. And then laughing is the way you get out of it in a certain way. There was no real culmination of that intensity, and the laughing diffuses it. So I thought that was a cool thing that they captured.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go on, and we'll have time at the end too to talk. Share. Okay. Go away. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Dorsha Hayes, a Jungian analyst, writes, "It's not liberation from the unconscious that the dancer seeks, but rather direct contact with the archetypal world in which the limiting confines of our ego adaptation are overcome." Hillman writes, "Concrete and visible emotional energy is the res extensa of the human body, but it is not limited to the enclosure of our skin. Rather, the human body is a situation, an interactive field of energy." So when we're in an intimate connection, whether it's however it is, that's an interacting field of energy. And that's what we also work with in the work of Jung and the work of therapy. And this is wonderful Alex Gray image, painting by Alex Gray. Anne Baring writes, "The soul is not confined to the individual. It is a vast web of relationships connecting invisible fields of energy with the denser field of physical reality." So here we get the energy in the body that's in and outside of the body. So when you see them dancing, and in the first one too, they go into another space. They go into a space that has no time. It has no it's totally present in the moment, in the creativity of the unconscious. So now most therapies use emotion, they use sensation and cognition. But Jung really brings in the soul and the imagination and the subtle body. And this is a beautiful image beautiful painting of the subtle body. Albert Einstein writes, imagination is more important than knowledge. Imagination is the right hemisphere. For knowledge is limited to all we now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world and all there ever will be to know and understand. And Ian McGilchrist says, the right hemisphere is more creative. It goes straight to the things that are most important. We come to certain ideas intuitively. These tend to be the most important ones. And Jung writes, in the place of realization of whatever we're doing is neither mind nor matter, but that intermediate realm of subtle reality, which can adequately be only expressed by the symbol. The symbol is neither abstract nor concrete, neither rational nor irrational, neither real nor unreal. It is always both. And this is what the Sufis call the mundus imaginalis, that place between ordinary reality and the most creative, the divine, the other world, the imaginal realm, where we can go in active imagination, in the embodied realm, in the embodied active imagination, to do creative work that will transform us. So we're going to go to another film. And this is the movie Beautiful Mind. And I'm sure probably most of you have seen it. It's the story of John Nash, who was a winner of the Nobel Prize for Mathematics. And this is his true story, the Hollywood version of his true story. He went to Princeton. He was a brilliant student. He never went to class. He was arrogant. He was paranoid. And his roommate was a wonderful, warm, extroverted person. And so he graduates and he goes and he works. And then one day his wife walks into a room where he says he's been working. I'm sure you remember this. And around all of the walls are written formulas and things pointing all over the place and conspiracy theories all around the walls. And he's having a psychosis. And the CIA agent is part of his psyche. It's one of the figures in his psyche that pushes him to the mission. He's going to save the world. He has to keep doing this. And then his roommate is his shadow, who believes in his brilliance. And then the roommate's little girl is his young feminine. So this is a beautiful depiction of an embodied active imagination. So close your eyes again just for a minute. Settle into your chair. Feel your breath. Relax. And slowly open your eyes and see if you can soft focus and let this come in.
Come.
Hello, Martin.
Jesus Christ.
No, I don't have that one. My savior complex takes on a completely different form.
I heard what happened, and well, I wanted to write, and I tried you at MacArthur's, but you left, and I just...
This is Hellinger's old office.
Yeah, I stole it from him.
Seems that you won after all, Martin.
They were wrong, John. No one wins. Please, please have a seat. Oh, it's so good to see you. What brings you back to Princeton?
John, I'm sorry, but you have to tell him. Tell him you're a genius. You're a genius, John! Tell him your work is critical. John, please!
Is there any chance that you could ignore what I just did?
Of course, what are old friends for?
Is that what we are, Martin? Friends?
John, of course. Of course, we always have been.
Alicia and I think that fitting in, being part of a community, might do me some good. At a certain level of attachment, familiar places, familiar people, might help me elbow out these certain delusions that I have. It's a lot to ask, and now that I'm here, I'm quite certain that you will just say no. But I was wondering if I could hang around.
Will you be needing an office?
No. No, I could just work out of the library.
Well, this guy tries to wander into the library, but he doesn't have ID.
Why can't people read their memos, huh?
Then he goes totally nuts.
Is this what you are, soldier? Some useless ghoul? The local madman?
I'm no soldier.
You're gonna end up in a cell! Owned! Worthless! Discarded!
There's no mission.
Then while you rock and drool, the world will burn to ashes! You are not real! You are not real! You're still talking to me, soldier! There's no mission! I'm not a soldier!
John? John? Hey, John, it's okay. I just heard what happened. I'm sorry, John.
I'm not a soldier.
John, hey, Nash. Nash, hey. Hey, you're all right. Nash, hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great John Man!
John?
You should have seen their faces.
John, you can't ignore me forever.
Charles, you've been a very good friend to me. The best. I won't talk to you again. I just can't. Same goes with you, baby girl. I was wondering if I might audit your course.
It's an honor, Professor Nash. Is something wrong?
This will be my first class. Good morning. Eager young minds.
Okay. Okay, we'll go on a little bit and then we'll come back and talk. So Janet Dallett, a Jungian analyst, writes, active imagination contains the very essence of psychological transformation. When John Nash faces and is able to communicate and have a dialogue with these inner parts of his psyche, he is able to regain his own ego sense of self, which he hasn't had. He is able to come back to his life here with us. The relationship between the conscious and the unconscious is what leads to a new center and synthesis of the personality. Now, embodied active imagination is not guided imagery. It's the material that comes from the unconscious. It could come from a dream. It could come from a sensation, an emotion. Jung said when he was in an emotion, if he could just tune into the emotion, then something would shift, something would come up. He'd have an image, a visual image, or he'd know something, or something would change. And so it's all six senses, the visual, the kinesthetic, energetic. I'm kinesthetic and energetic. I don't have wonderful images, visual images, which I wish I would. So image for Jung is any one of the senses. It's auditory, musicians. It's smell and taste. Famous chefs, that's how they create. And it's any modality, it's art, it's movement, authentic movement, it's Groff work, it's nature, it's photography, it's sculpture, it's whatever comes. And it's about the living symbol. The symbol points beyond itself. It's not a sign. It's not a stop sign. It points beyond itself. It attracts us. It repulses us. It scares us. It fascinates us. And we want to go towards it. And this is about the personal unconscious with our trauma and the archetypal unconscious. At the core of every trauma is an archetypal figure. So that's very important in the work I do. Jung writes, it is in the creative fantasies that we find the unifying function we seek. All the functions that are active in the psyche converge in fantasy. And here we see with John Nash, the CIA agent and the roommate and the little girl are the images that come from his psyche that he is able then to confront. And if we were continuing to work with John Nash, we might, instead of him having to say, no, I can never talk to these inner figures again, he might get to a place where he could talk to them again and he could find out what each one of them might have that he could integrate. It has its roots in the conscious and the unconscious alike, in the individual as in the collective. As an authentic symbol, it acts as a signpost, providing the clues we need in order to carry out our lives in harmony with ourselves. So with John Nash, he needed to pull back. He needed to find where he wasn't overtaken by these inner figures. And here we go into the subtle body. When we're in an active imagination, or when we're in my energy experience, we're outside. We're inside and outside of the body. We're in a sense of no time. We're in a subtle body state. Nathan Schwartz-Salant, who's an amazing analyst who worked deeply with the subtle body and the interactive space. This subtle body is not a thing like the physical body, nor is it only an energy system. Rather, it is a fabric of relations that structure an in-between realm and a medium between soul and body that can be healthy or damaged. And when we look at Don Kelshed's work with trauma, he talks about the protector who would say to the child, don't do that, you'll get in trouble, don't do this, be good. And that is the that's the protector, but it stays there. It doesn't develop with us. And then it returns, it becomes the perpetrator that keeps us in the trauma. Okay, so I'm going to run one more little, a bit more of a film, and then we'll come back and talk. So this is a film of my mentor, Janet Adler, and authentic movement. And authentic movement is the Jungian form of movement work because there is no direction, there is no music. There is the witness or the circle of witnesses, and there is the space. I've studied many forms of dance before I discovered authentic movement. And when I got on the authentic movement floor, where nobody asked me to do anything, where all I had to do was to tune into my somatic unconscious, I felt like I had come home. So it's about tuning into the somatic unconscious and allowing that to move you, allowing that to express itself. So just close your eyes again for a minute. Take a breath. Feel the chair. Slowly open your eyes. And these women who are coming to this group, they're very comfortable with authentic movement. So let's see.
This is a film about authentic movement, a practice concerned with the relationship between moving and witnessing, an invitation to move closer to the self. People looking for clarity in their lives find this way of work useful as therapy, as resource for any creative process, and as spiritual practice. Though both men and women study this form, in this situation, these 8 women are joining me. Authentic movement offers a way of learning how to see and how to be seen as we are. Within this framework, this form assumes complete trust in the body's capacity to remember and to tell the truth. With this dynamic at the center, in the past 20 years, a developmental process has become apparent. First, a person learns to allow self-directed movement in the presence of a witness. Next, the mover learns to witness another person move. Finally, people move and witness in a circle. Moving and witnessing takes us into and through personality, toward an integration of body and spirit, toward wholeness. Now we begin. As I witness many people moving, I try to create a clear and safe container for the movers, though they take responsibility for their own physical safety by opening their eyes when necessary. Eyes are closed to invite deeper listening. In the dark and silence, journeys begin with feelings, images, sounds, memories, thoughts, and sensations. Gates to the unconscious open as movers descend. As the witness, I have no directions for the movers. There is no way I can know what they must do. Not knowing what to do, Margaret's only guidance comes from her body and its deepening impulses. In the beginning of this process, impulse finds form primarily in 3 ways. For Margaret, energy is expressed in specific body parts. Elizabeth uses gesture. She is gathering. For Jean, idiosyncratic movements emerge. Originating in the unconscious, they have been buried under the rational, ordered body ego. They may initially appear as irrational and unfamiliar, yet they feel right. As the work develops, personality differences become visible. Some people, like Susan, follow emotions easily. Others, like Margaret, often follow images. Bonnie usually follows her kinesthetic sensations. Patterns emerge.
Okay. Let's see. Stop share. Come back. Okay. That's a lot of material and experiences. So I just want to open it up for the rest of the time to just talk, to share what you felt from that, to ask questions. This is a lot of interesting material. So whoever would like to talk or share, please raise your hand. What was that last piece like? Probably some people have never seen authentic movement or experienced it. Julia.
Hello, thank you so much, Erica. What came to mind for me is when I feel pain in certain areas of my body, sometimes a strong emotion accompanies the pain that isn't apparent to me. So, when I have pain in my backside, I feel a lot of shame. And I've questioned myself again and again, like, what is this about? Like, I don't really know the injury or the, whatever may be going on isn't necessarily related to an experience of shame, at least not consciously. But I get this very powerful feeling of shame and humiliation. And I was wondering, just wanted to share and see if you had any thoughts on that, on what to do with that.
Yeah, well, I think trust it. Something's trying to be revealed. And it sounds like you know how to tune into the body, so just follow that. And then if you want to write, or if you're moved to move or to draw or to whatever, allow the creativity to come forth, and something will be revealed. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking sometimes it freezes me. It's almost like I get the impulse to not move.
Right. Okay. Well, freezing is an experience too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something freezes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all there. It's all just waiting to speak to us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. Amy.
Watching the authentic movement, I could feel fear.
Okay.
Just not sure why. Just fear. Fear of whatever that is and not trusting it. Not trusting that it's real. Thinking that, oh, I'm just making this up because I don't know what else to do. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Tara.
Hi. I've done authentic movement many times, and more than any other thing, I might say, certainly more than any other kind of movement, at the end of it, as I go into my day, I really have felt like more than any other time, I am the creator of my day.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to be in synchrony with ourselves, isn't it?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. I mean, I brought up a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas too. So if there's one hanging out that wants to be spoken or wants to be asked, please feel free. Yes, Daniel.
Okay, am I on mute? Can you hear me?
You're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Lo. This is when you said that, I just popped in. You know how you said that every trauma is centered in a certain archetype or God? Is it important to try to find out what that archetype is? And is that part of active imagination?
It will be revealed if you keep following the process.
Right.
In dreams, in mythology, in synchronicities, in whatever.
So you can go in with an intent, like I'm going to active imagination about this.
Yeah, active imagination means that we have an intention to follow. We don't have an intention to make something happen, but we have an intention to allow the unconscious to speak to us in whatever way works for us. Whereas passive imagination is like we're having a dream, we're asleep. So active is the intention of wanting to meet the unconscious. Yeah, good point. Laura.
Yeah, just kind of circling back to the beginning of your introduction to this material, Erica, and how far from all this we have come to this. And so I just feel so sad that the world that I wake up to in the morning does not have that awareness, those awarenesses of this subtlety of life and being.
Yeah. Well, this is where we have to have an intention to make the space for it, don't you think? It's hard. We wake up and we have things to do, and the Western modern life wants us to do things. So we have to intentionally make space. And it's hard. It's hard in modern life. Yeah.
And that we don't greet one another in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, what was your day really like? What was your imagination today? That would be nice. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Randy?
Well, I saw that note about Catherine raising her hand, and I'm happy
Oh, where
her
is Catherine?
go next.
Catherine. Oh, Catherine, that you raised your real hand. Sorry, thanks.
Let's see, sorry, I couldn't figure out how to raise my electronic hand. So I had an interesting physical response to the last clip. The moment the group started moving, I immediately started tensing my buttocks and lower abdomen. And I stayed like that for about 5 minutes, just feeling this real intensity. And then just the thought kept going through my mind, which I will need to follow up on later. It just must stop this birth, must stop this birth. It was very, very intense. But that's what my body did during that particular clip.
That's powerful. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
And I would also like to ask a question, because sometimes when I'm doing embodied active imagination, like I will find my hands shaking, like there's a lot of energy flowing. But I just go with it because that's all you can do. But I've often wondered, like, what is that? Am I just expressing an energy flow, or am I supposed to follow up on that at all? I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Sounds like your body is expressing something. And yes, we should follow that. And it might just be expressing what's in your active imagination, or as a part of it, or it might want to do something itself. So that's always a good question, isn't it?
Thank you, Erica.
Yeah, you're welcome. So Randy, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I am curious about the closing of an authentic movement session. So people have been doing this work, they're tracking inside stuff, but clock time interferes with the process, right? So I assume there's some kind of ritual closing. Some people may have reached some kind of conclusion or revelation, but other people probably still in the middle of stuff. So how do you manage that energetic situation at the closing of a session?
Yeah, well, the movement, the witness is the timekeeper and the space keeper. And the group agrees to a particular period of time to move, and the kind of normal time is 20 minutes. So it's not like you're moving for a long time, though there are long circles where you can move for hours if you want to. But so that time is agreed upon. So you go in and you move and you come, and then a gong is rung or something, and you come out, and that's when you come into a circle and the movers share. So you try to articulate what happened, not analyzing it, but just what happened, so that you can follow it, so you can stay with it, and then you go back and move. So that's the basic format. And then, but the next piece of the film talks about patterns emerge. And so a pattern will keep coming back through the movement. Pattern will keep coming back. So eventually that pattern becomes more clear, becomes more conscious. And then what's beautiful is you don't interpret. You allow the movement to speak. And eventually there will be a realization, an aha. Oh, that's what that body movement, that's what that piece is about. It might be a memory from a childhood. It might be a connection with an archetypal whatever. It can be any. But so it's practiced over time, and it's really profound what comes up and the sharing is about trying to, and then sometimes you draw, sometimes you write in order to keep the process going and bringing into consciousness.
And does the witness make any comment about what they've seen, or are they completely a passive witness?
Yeah, well, that's very interesting because the witness, to me, the witness is a fascinating role because I'm there holding the space, being present for the mover, however many movers. There may be a whole circle of witnesses. And what I'm meditating on as a witness is my feelings, my body, my reactions. So if I share, and I only share if the mover wants me to share, I say what I experienced in the presence of the mover, which is one of the most powerful ways to be seen. So I don't interpret anything. And that's what to me is so sacred about the process, is that it's allowed to unfold, it's allowed to emerge, and the witness and mover get into a creative space where they're holding and allowing something to bloom to consciousness. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Maggie.
Oh, I just want to say, Erica, this has been so exciting this whole evening. And Bonnie and I sitting here, we're here together because we're in a group with Erica, but we also are part of a group that's been meeting and doing authentic movement for over 20 years, several times a year. And as we were watching the movie, for us, that was a very familiar place. That kind of like, oh, I'm going to pull on that rope and I'm going to bang on the floor and I'm going to, whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm in it. And we were curious about who was watching and what it would be like to see that for the first time. And I think the thing I want to speak about is the absolute life-changing and life-honoring and life-guiding thing about the permission in that circle. And as Erica has been saying to us tonight, like, feel our breath, feel ourselves sitting in the chair. Like, what would it be like if you had a place, if we all had a place in our lives where there was this like unbelievable depth of permission to find what's there in our physicality, in our physical soul. So I'm just cheerleading for authentic movement here and just speaking from that place.
Thank you, Maggie. And I just also want to say that I do embodied active imagination without somebody moving. You don't have to move, but the body is always alive. The body is always speaking. The body is ready to communicate. And we can take that, and if we are doing expressive arts of any kind, the more we get into it, the more the body is present. It's not one thing or another. It's the whole being, the whole person that's working, and it's the authentic movement to me is a ritual space where one can go into the somatic unconscious in particular. If you look at the mystics, Teresa, I don't know if anybody remembers that incredible statue of Teresa of Avila, who's just in ecstasy, being in love with God. And that is the most deep place of subtle body. When you're doing an active imagination yourself and you're just doing a collage, or you're doing a drawing, or you're doing clay, or you're walking in the woods and you see a hawk and suddenly there's a synchronicity, that is also, to me, active imagination. That's also allowing the unconscious to speak. So it can happen in many forms. And that's what Jung's preferred method of working is active imagination. So, all right. So anybody else want to speak? This was a lot of material. Rosemary.
Well, I remember years and years ago in Berkeley that doing some kind of, it must have been something like authentic movement, but what I remember most about it, and it was wonderful to see it tonight, because I haven't been around it in a very, very long time, was that when one starts with a feeling that wants to turns into a gesture, because it's movement, it moves. The energy stops being stuck. It's it moves to the next thing, and then it moves to the next thing, and then it moves to another thing completely different. I mean, it's just amazing all the things that one can go through when one is doing this, and all you need to do it, you can do it in just a living room floor, if with a few cushions around so that you don't bump into things, maybe. But I just remember that next to doing the Groff work and the breathing thing, where one is totally doing this inside one's own mind, the authentic movement was just marvelous that way. And it reminded me of improvisation, when you're on the piano or the violin and you're starting with something, and then if you just keep repeating yourself, it's boring. Of course, it's stuck. And then the minute an off note happens, that suggests, oh, but what if I include that off note? And now I'm on a different string. Now I'm on a different key. And so there is this progression of development, which is so marvelous, and it teaches you just to follow your own process in a way that's wonderful.
Yeah, and insight comes from that.
And
Like,
insight.
wow.
Yeah.
We are the
now I'm making a gesture that I don't ordinarily make because I went through the tightening up. It moves towards something that's releasing, and then I remember, I feel like, oh, I rarely make this kind of gesture. What does it feel like to be finally really, really open or something?
Yeah,
So
who is that in me?
Yeah, really marvelous. Yes. So thank you so much.
Yeah. And again, I sit with people in my office and they don't move, but their energy is moving, their emotion is moving. Like Catherine, you were talking about your arms start to move, energy moves, right? So it can be when I do Groff, I move. I can't stay still in Groff. So it's energy for me. So, okay, Andrew, let's have a couple more and then we have to end.
Thank you for this, Erica. I see a commonality in the tango dancers and John Nash and the authentic movement of accompaniment that invites wildness, that invites going out to an edge, looking strange, feeling strange. And a personal story is when I first went to Quaker meeting, I had the experience of diving in the deep end of a guarded pool. That kind of accompaniment.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? One more person? Would you like to say something or ask something? Yeah, we don't want to lose the body. We have lost the body in the trauma work is bringing back the body, but the trauma work doesn't work with the imagination. And I find working with the imaginal in the body is so powerful. It is transformative, So any other thoughts or questions? We're all just stunned into Adele, is that your hand?
Yeah, hi. I was wondering, you were saying like that it's also important to notice when nothing comes up and you feel nothing, and that's generally where I'm at. So I'm wondering, like, I feel like probably the answer to this question is to witness it. But I'm like, do you have any other insight about how to, because I don't know, like Rosemary was talking about like moving from one thing to the next. And for me, I know things are happening, but at least consciously, I feel quite stuck, and I can't really.
Yeah.
And it's related to trauma and stuff, but I'm curious, like, how you would advise me to feel, like, more encouraged or something.
Well, anything we feel is an experience, whether it's frozen, fight or flight. Janet Dallett, the Jungian analyst, she really wanted to do active imagination, and she kept sitting at the typewriter and waiting. She waited and waited and waited, and nothing happened. And finally she went, oh, nothing is happening. I need to listen to the nothing is happening in me. So then she started actually paying attention to that experience of not being able to write, of nothing coming. And that was the beginning of her active imagination process. And here comes my embodied cat. Okay. Right. Does that help?
It does, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay. I think we need to end. So I'm just going to show one more slide to Birkhauser's amazing painting. And this was the wound of the world before. And you see there's red in the wound. There's blood moving and his eyes are focused. And something is coming out of his mouth. So this is a healing that has happened. And this is a beautiful poem by Lorraine Rouche, the Radiance Sutras. Everything in you is yearning to let go. So let go. Let your body fall into something deeper than sleep. With your mind, enter the soft, luminous glow of the soul. Okay. Here we are. So any other thought? Any last minute thought? Yeah, Elric.
First of all, thank you. That was wonderful. I wanted to respond to Adele just to say that an extension of the body is the world of nature. And I find sometimes when I have that feeling of nothing's happening or feeling stuck, that if I go out in nature, things begin to move. So nature can be an extension of the body.
Yeah, it absolutely can. Thank you. Thank you, Elric. So thank you all for coming. This has been a journey. And it's hard to say goodbye. It's hard to say goodbye. It would be nice if we were all in a room where we could actually feel each other more. Thank you.